Poor Kamala Harris. As you may have read in the title of her book, she only had 107 days to run for president. How could you expect her to run for president in only 107 days? 107 days is hardly enough time to do anything. Hardly enough time to produce a platform of her own. She couldn't have even gotten around to hitting the search and replace button on Microsoft Word and actually replacing all the mentions of Biden in her platform, the DNC platform, with Kamala. She didn't have enough time to do that. It was only 107 days. She did not have enough time in which to print up enough lawn signs, come up with a brand that people would actually support, but she had enough time to blow through over $1 billion, including advertising on the Sphere, none of which actually worked. Now, here's the thing. Is Kamala actually the victim of this very foreshortened time frame in which she was running for president? No, she's not. Kamala is not the victim of having only 107 days to run. She's the perpetrator of only having 107 days to run. Because here's what really happened. Why did Kamala stand by and let Biden run for president in the first place? Well, her book, 107 Days, tries to have it both ways. She claims that she was so loyal to Biden, she was so loyal to him that she could absolutely not stab him in the back and say, maybe you're too senile to run for president. Except that's not really it, because she repeatedly takes shots at Biden inspiration people, at the supposed inner circle, and claims that she was the victim because they never gave her enough credit. They never gave her enough credit for things like meeting with French President Macron. That's the big thing she says she didn't get enough credit for. She completely diffused our crisis with France. We were nearly at war with France, and then Kamala stepped in and had a meeting with Macron. So she's not actually loyal because she repeatedly is out there taking shots at Biden. So it's not a question of Kamala was too loyal to stand in the way of Biden running for president. No, Kamala had a very good calculation up to a point, which was that if she actually stands up and discourages Biden from running, two things are going to happen. One, there's going to be a competitive primary, which she in no way in hell is going to win. And two, Biden is not going to endorse her. So instead, she lets the situation go forward until it gets so bad that other people in the party have to step in, aka Obama, and oust Biden. And then, of course, they have no choice but to coronate her despite Obama's best efforts, because it's really, at this point, legally and practically too iffy to do anything except very, very quickly replace Biden with an even more confused but more diverse representative. So Kamala did not find herself stuck with only 107 days to run because she was just a victim of circumstances. She was the perpetrator of the circumstances. Kamala knew the only way she was going to get a presidential nomination was if there was such a crisis that there was nobody else who could actually step in. And barring Biden being assassinated or dropping dead, there was only one other possibility, which is that Biden would get almost to the finish line, which he did, and then have to drop out, which he did. And then Kamala becomes the only person to step in. Now, Kamala's calculation was good up to a point at which she assumed that the moment she becomes the nominee, well, the public is going to have to vote for her because joy, and she's so diverse. Of course, they don't. Instead, she loses an election. And now she's out there trying to have it both ways and arguing that, well, she only had 107 days to run. If only this time you give her the full calendar to run, this time she'll absolutely pull it off. No. There's absolutely no reason to think that, because there's nothing that Kamala, displayed either in her vice presidential term or time as a presidential nominee that suggests she would be any better, or that, what exactly went wrong in 107 days that she was going to be able to get right if she actually had the full election. She wouldn't be on record as supporting eliminating private medicine and healthcare. She wouldn't be on record as supporting taxpayer-funded castrations for illegal alien criminals. She wouldn't be on record as saying that, well, she was 100% following the same approach as Joe Biden. What of those problems would actually be eliminated? Kamala was not suffering from a foreshortened campaign schedule. If anything, having 107 days is actually a plus, because what you tend to see happen with a nominee is they go to the convention, they get a boost. The public actually thinks, well, this person, we had this whole 3-day infomercial. This person looks like, they could be a good shot. And then the other side comes down and tears them down. But with Kamala, she never really got much of a convention bump, and the public was never enamored of her. So really 107 days was her best case scenario, and she couldn't close the deal in 107 days, which means that giving her a full-on nomination, a full-on campaign season would not have helped. There's absolutely no reason to think it would have. Kamala is just playing the Tanya Harding excuse. No, I couldn't pull it off because I just did not have enough time. The problem wasn't that she didn't have enough time. The problem is that A, she's absolutely incompetent, and beyond being incompetent, has accomplished absolutely nothing, and worse than that, has this bizarre sense of entitlement, which suggests that she's actually incredibly talented, but people just don't appreciate her. Two, well, she's not very likable, despite her conviction that just put her out there with some celebrities and a Joy soundtrack and people will go to vote for her. They didn't. And number three, people wanted a change. And by change, they didn't just mean replacing the old white guy with a younger, half black, half Indian woman. What they wanted was a different set of policies. And Kamala could not convincingly suggest that she has a different set of policies. Is she going to have a different set of policies in 2028? Well, never rule out the possibility that Kamala will completely transform herself within 4 years, but she'll transform the things that she claims to stand for. And she tried to do that already during the election, claiming that all the stuff she said in the past, don't pay attention, that she's not actually for abolishing private health care anymore. Well, the public didn't believe her, and why should they believe her? If they didn't believe her in 2024, what makes anybody in the Democratic Party think they're going to believe her now? Thank you for listening. And be sure to get a copy of 107 Horrible Days, the real, true chronicle of the disastrous campaign for the worst candidate in American history. Well, maybe second worst candidate. See you next time.